The summer in Capewood. My name is Evelyn May Harper, but in Capewood everyone just called me Evie. I was 19 that summer. I wore polka dot dresses, painted my lips cherry red, and played Elvis Presley records on my Magnavox console, like they were secret messages meant just for me. The year was 1956. Capewood was the kind of small town where everyone knew which pie your mother baked best and how many times your father fixed someone's car for free. We had one diner, one movie house, and a lake that looked like melted silver on warm nights. It was a quiet town, not sleepy, but settled. People stayed, except me. I always knew I'd leave one day, but first came that summer. It started with a telegram. My father stood on the porch holding the envelope like it was a ticking bomb. He never liked surprises. I peeked over his shoulder, and there it was. A letter from my cousin Rose in Chicago. She wanted me to visit for the fall, maybe even find a job, start fresh in the city. It felt like a doorway swinging open. But I had 3 more months in Capewood. 3 months that changed everything. It was late June when I met Jack. He wasn't from town. You could tell by the way he stood at the gas station, tall and a little too confident, like he didn't belong to any one place. His car was a cherry red Mercury Montclair, the kind of thing you only saw in magazines. I was working part-time at Johnson's garage, answering phones and handing over receipts, when he walked in, sunglasses low on his nose. "Excuse me, miss. You happen to know where a guy can get a milkshake around here?" His voice had that soft southern edge, the kind that makes you listen closer. I pointed him toward Miller's Diner, and he gave me a grin that could melt steel. "Thanks, darling. Name's Jack, by the way." I nodded politely. Evie. And just like that, I was in trouble. We saw each other nearly every day after that. He'd show up at the diner around 5, sit at the counter with a root beer float, and wait until I finished my shift. Sometimes we'd go driving. No destination, just the sound of the radio and wind tangled in my hair. Other times we'd sit at the lake and talk about everything we'd never done. He said he was passing through on his way to California. He wanted to see the ocean, find work, maybe fix planes. He'd been a mechanic in the Air Force. But there was something in his eyes, a flicker of something restless. I recognized it. I saw it in the mirror most days. "You ever think about leaving?" he asked me once, lying back on the hood of his car, looking up at the stars. "All the time," I whispered. We didn't kiss that night. We didn't need to. July came with its fireworks and parades. Jack stayed. No one in town questioned it. He fixed engines like a magician and always tipped well at the diner. He helped old Mr. Barker build a new fence, taught my little brother how to skip stones, and once danced with Mrs. Franklin in the middle of Main Street during the summer fair. He was becoming a part of Capewood, but only for a little while. We both knew that. Still, we let ourselves believe in the illusion. One night, we danced in the parking lot of the drive-in theater. The movie didn't matter. We parked the Mercury in the back row, the windows down, the radio playing softly. I was wearing my yellow dress, the one Mama said made me look like sunshine, and Jack spun me around like we were the only people left in the world. "I don't want this to end," I told him, half laughing, half serious. He caught my hands and held them tight. "Then let's not let it." There was something in his voice that made my heart twist. The next day, he was gone. His car disappeared from the garage parking lot, his room at the boarding house empty, not even a note left behind. It was like he'd been a dream that woke up before I did. I cried for 2 days, then I packed my suitcase. Chicago was cold in the fall, even colder than I imagined. The streets were full of noise and people who didn't look you in the eye. but I found a job at a record store downtown and shared a tiny apartment with Rose, above a bakery that smelled like cinnamon every morning. Sometimes I'd walk to the lake and sit alone, just like back home. I'd close my eyes and pretend I was back in Capewood, with Jack's hand brushing against mine. I didn't hear from him all winter, until one snowy afternoon in March, when the door to the record store jingled, and I looked up, and there he was. Same leather jacket, same crooked grin. Only this time he looked tired, like the road had taken something from him. I was stupid, he said, running scared. I thought if I stayed, I'd mess it all up. I stared at him, unsure whether to cry or throw a record at his head. But I came back, Evie. I came back for you. And just like that, everything started again. We've been married now for 48 years. We raised 3 kids, ran a small business fixing old radios and jukeboxes, and every summer we drive back to Capewood. The town's smaller now, quieter, but the lake still looks like silver at sunset. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't answered that telegram, if Jack hadn't come back, if I had stayed in Capewood and waited for a life that never arrived. But then I remember, life did arrive. It just looked a little like a stranger in a Mercury Montclair asking about milkshakes. And I smile,